Manchester United are back in the top four with a 1-0 win over Brentford at Old Trafford. While of course 1-0 does not seem to be that impressive of a win, some really amazing and intense tactical battles were taking shape on the Old Trafford pitch. And Erik Ten Hag, of course, got his revenge over Thomas Frank. What happened exactly? Let's analyze. So in order for us to truly appreciate what Erik Ten Hag did tactically against Brentford, we first have to talk about how Brentford are actually set up tactically and how they play, what's their playing philosophy. So usually they're set up in this 5-3-2 formation. This formation is great for teams who want to punch above their weight. And so obviously it served Brentford pretty well last season and this season in the Premier League. And what this formation right here aims to do is two things. The first thing is that, of course, they play deep and narrow like this, which means that they actually clog these areas, area 14 right here, the central areas where, of course, the high quality chances can be created by the opposition, but also the half spaces over here, because as you can see, they can actually triple down on these areas on each side, and then you have Norgard who can just sweep on the right hand side and the left hand side to make sure that he catches any loose balls over there. And then of course once they do this, they actually have one of the best deep line playmakers in David Raya. So basically what they try to do to go towards this left hand side over here, where Mbemo circles around Ivan Toney, who is of course the target for Raya. Then Rico Henry goes closer, maybe even beyond Toney over here, and then with another midfielder over here. This situation creates chances for them, and either they score from these chances or they get a set piece like a free kick or a corner that obviously leads to them scoring later. This is basically Brentford in a nutshell. Now let's see how Erik Ten Hag dealt with this threat. So one of the ways Erik Ten Hag chose to deal with the Brentford threat, and one of the ways he used to actually assert his dominance, is to actually not use Scott McTominay and Sabitzer in a double pivot, but rather to play Bruno Fernandes as a lone defensive midfielder, a deep line playmaker, and play Sabitzer and Scott McTominay as really aggressive, high up the pitch, number 8. So let's see what kind of purpose did this serve. So obviously, as you can see here, we have our 4, let's say, defensive players with Luke Shaw, Lisandro Martinez and Varane, and Bruno Fernandes over here. We are used to seeing him in number 10 position, but he was used differently here. And of course, highlighted are, of course, Scott McTominay and Sabitzer. As you can see, they are playing further up pitch compared to Bruno Fernandes. Now, why did Erik Ten Hag choose to do this? Well, actually, it's very simple. It's because Scott McTominay and Sabitzer can actually help create overloads here. And what this does, literally, is that it forces Brentford to remain deep in their own half. That's the first thing that it does. The second thing it does, obviously, is that, remember, when we talked about the way Brentford play, is that they try to restrict space in these half spaces over here. But as you can see, Erik Ten Hag, by choosing to play 6 forwards, basically assigning Scott McTominay and Sabitzer roles where they go forward towards the opposition box, he is overloading this area over here, therefore allowing the wing backs and wingers to overload these areas right here, which makes it much harder for Brentford to defend against. I remember Scott McTominay was, of course, much higher up pitch compared to where Bruno Fernandes was and compared to where we were used to seeing him in a double pivot. And let's see how he's going to be involved in this move right here. So Anthony goes into that area, that half space over there, and then Scott McTominay is free, of course. He gets the ball. Norgard, who was marking him earlier in the sequence, is nowhere to be seen. Scott McTominay really should have buried that. That was a pretty good chance and opportunity for Manchester United. Again, great move. Now, of course, this has been linked to the way we scored our goal. So again, there was a clearance from David De Gea. The ball found itself in this position right here. And then Bruno Fernandes, again, as you can see, the deeper out of these 3 midfielders, with, of course, Sabitzer and Scott McTominay helping out in the press, but also always ready to spring forward. Of course, Bruno Fernandes, Mr. Hollywood pass. This guy, even when he doesn't look, he gets a pinpoint pass. Look at this. Now Sabitzer is going to, of course, drive forward in this space over here. Rashford, really good hold-up play from him. Lays the ball to Sabitzer, who moves forward. This is a great counter-attacking opportunity for Manchester United. Sabitzer keeps going into the box, into this area over here. Luke Shaw on the overlap. And then Sabitzer tries to get the ball. It doesn't get in. So this results in the corner that actually allowed us to score the goal. Again, Sabitzer is going to play a huge role in that. Now, again, as you can see, Antony here on the edge of the box. The ball comes straight to him. But as you can see, Sabitzer is in the box. And of course, Scott McTominay also is in the box. Now, the moment the ball is cleared and Antony gets it, Sabitzer identifies an opportunity, which is he needs to get in this area. And as the Brentford players, the defensive line, is moving up forward in order to put out to build an offside trap for our players, it didn't work because Sabitzer was already thinking about going in this area right here. And Antony, of course, who was really in the mood this game, has seen that opportunity and he's going to deliver the pass. Beautiful pass into space. Beautiful laid it off for Marcus Rashford. Beautiful goal for Manchester United. But of course, this just shows some of the tactical tweaks that Erik Ten Hag did, mainly using Sabitzer and Scott McTominay to put much more pressure on the defensive midfielders and the backline of Brentford, therefore allowing us to push them deeper and allowing us to create overloads and exploit those half spaces. But the other reasons why we were successful this game is also because none of the tricks that Brentford tried and that were successful with other teams, for example, they beat Manchester City 2-1 using the same trick right here, didn't work with us. For example, here Pinnock going straight towards Ivan Toney. As you can see, both Scott McTominay and Sabitzer are pretty high in the pitch, helping with the press. The ball goes towards Ivan Toney, and then, as you can see, Varane here challenging him, and then Lisandro Martinez always ready covering. Malacia also covering Mbemu over here. Varane wins it. Beautiful. No threat whatsoever. This same sequence happened like probably around 12 or 13 times during the game. Now, again, another reason is, of course, that we were so press resistant. And this, of course, is because Scott McTominay and Sabitzer were able to keep the backline busy, so their midfielders had to be careful and had to stay a little deeper, which allowed us a lot of space. But let's see again how we were able to exploit that space. Scott McTominay to Diogo Dalot. Now, as you can see here, as Varane is getting the ball, Scott McTominay is not an option. Lisandro Martinez is not an option because Mbemu is over here. And of course, Diogo Dalot is not an option because Jensen is over here. But here Luke Shaw is going to do something amazing. Look at Varane and look at his body language. So he's actually, you see, he's signaling to Luke Shaw. Are you ready to receive the pass? Luke Shaw comes into this space over here, really narrow, gets the ball, and then now he can exploit this space over here. Beautiful press resistance. Look at this dribbling ability. And this, again, happened quite a few times. Even when Malacia replaced Luke Shaw, he was still doing that. Sometimes Dalot did it as well, which made us much more press resistant. So we were able to keep the ball much more often than not. And also Scott McTominay, amazing defensive contribution and defensive performance from him in this game. For example, here, great tackle against Ivan Toney, but it doesn't matter. Look, he's on the floor, stands up, does himself up. He sees the Jay Da Silva threat over here. The ball comes in, Scott McTominay sees it, look at that, beautiful clearance. And just a few seconds after that, he is there again to clear a magnificent ball. He's in the box. Da Silva, there you go. And then Scott McTominay, steely performance from him. Great performance overall from the Manchester United players. Much better than what we've seen at Newcastle. So we won for two main reasons. Erik Ten Hag's tactics were innovative and built and designed to counter the best that Brentford had to offer. And of course, our players were up to the task, determined, motivated, and as we've seen with Scott McTominay, they were extremely focused and driven. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you've enjoyed this Brentford tactical analysis. Now, many of you have asked me why I haven't made a video on the Newcastle game, and that's because that was one of the most testicle-free performance I've seen from Manchester United. There was nothing tactically insightful from me to talk to you about. So that's why I didn't make that video, because I would just be ranting about how unfocused and how, just weak and spineless this team is. And of course, there isn't much value in that. That's why I didn't make this video. But I hope that you've enjoyed this one. If you did, please give the video a thumbs up and please leave a comment in the comment section below. Until next time, cheers.